Well, hello good people of the internet, it is I, Tommy Kelly, and this is Adventures in Woo Woo. So welcome to another episode of Adventures in Woo Woo, and in this episode we have two main sections, I suppose. The first section is I go out to a local church, an abandoned church out in Richardstown, which is down the road from me, and it has a graveyard and all these cool things. I've been there before on YouTube and in the podcast, but it's the first time on Adventures in Woo Woo I've been there. And why was I there? Well, I was there to do some spirit bothering. I used the same app as I did last time to try and get into communication with any spirits that were around the place, and they seemed to talk to me, but I have my own thoughts on that too, which you will find out at the end of that session. After that we have the monthly question and answer session where I ask people on the internet, like yourself, to ask me questions or give me suggestions of things to talk about. So some good ones in that this month, and hopefully my rambly answers will satisfy the curiosity of those who asked. So let's get straight into this. So welcome again to Richardstown Church. If you've been watching this YouTube channel for a while or even been listening to the podcast, you'll know that I come out here quite often. It's kind of one of my favourite places in the world because it's so serene and quiet and you can be on your own, and it's well kept for, you know, like an abandoned place. I suppose it's not really abandoned, it's just unused. The church is in a great state of repair other than there's no roof, and it's obviously not used anymore at all, but some of the graves here are recent enough so it's not totally out of use, I suppose. There's certainly graves on that side that are known in the past number of years, and I kind of try to stay away from that because it seems a bit disrespectful because it's so new, whereas these old ones, it seems like I can do whatever I want with them, within reason, not illegal, obviously. So why am I here? Well, today I'm going to do some more spirit bothering, or try to use that app that I used last time to try and talk to some spirits. Now, I'm not a fucking lunatic, so I didn't come out here at night. I came out during the day. It's early morning on a Monday. The crows are going insane, which is very ominous and suiting to our needs here on Adventures in Woo Woo, particularly when you're in a graveyard trying to contact spirits or the dead or whatever. I'm kind of going to put aside the whole thing of trying to contact my spirit guardian for the minute and just go with general contact, because I think it could be limiting the whole thing, and also to try to appeal to a kind of a wider audience. Like, as much as it may be interesting for you to see my journey of finding my guardian spirit, it'll be probably a bit more interesting if I open it a bit more to generalities of just spirit contact or whatever. Now, if you're new, know that all of this is done from a skeptical point of view, but wanting to believe and be very open to all of these ideas. But it's Adventures in Woo Woo. It's not totally believing without a shadow of doubt that all Woo Woo exists. So we're here investigating and trying out these things. It's kind of the whole point of this, originally the blog and in the videos and stuff, was to look at all of these ideas that we have in the occult, and while they may be fascinating and exciting and you know, attractive, very much an attraction to them to be real, it doesn't necessarily mean they are real. So I always kind of want to look at these things somewhat objectively. It's very hard to be objective about stuff that you're into or that you want to be true, in a sense, in many ways. So it is a subjective experience, and it's mine, and other opinions are always available. So don't just think that I am the final word, and I certainly don't want to come across as that's what I'm saying. Just an adventure in Woo Woo. So with that preamble, we will get into it straight away, kind of way, because it's getting a bit cold here. And I'm going to try to use two apps. One, the app that I used the last time, and then another kind of ghost spirit box type thing. I haven't even opened it, so I'm not even sure how good or bad. It might be a complete disaster. I think it uses kind of radio waves, you know, quickly goes through the different channels to try and pick up stuff. So I don't know, we'll see. So let's cut to that. So before we get into it, there's a bit of an issue. When I was recording this, I had two angles, one on my phone, which was running the app, and one on me, and I was using a new process where I could remote trigger the focus of the camera, and as far as I was concerned, it was in focus. And I did check, I did a test kind of shot or a test kind of video to make sure it was in focus, and it was. And then when I was looking at the screen, Not my new screen, mind you, the old screen, the flippy screen, so it was a good bit away from me. It looked perfectly in focus, but as you can see, it's not in focus. I mean, it's terribly badly out of focus. So what I thought I'd do is, rather than just scrapping the whole idea, which was my initial reaction, my initial gut anger reaction, I'm going to do it as a small picture-in-picture, so it is totally out of focus, but it doesn't look so bad when it's that small. So we're going to put this down to technical difficulties, but also we may go with the angle of the woo and say that maybe the spirits didn't want you to watch this. So I'm going to get straight into this and just go with it, because it's getting a bit cold and it could rain. It is Ireland, so it could rain at any point in time here, and that would be the end of it. The crows are pretty intense and pretty noisy, but hopefully that won't interrupt us too much. If not, nothing else gives us a nice ambience to walk towards. So we put this on. I'm not going to use the echo because I don't like it, and I'm not going to use the white noise. So, of course, the thing that we learned from the last time is that an awful lot of the stuff that you can hear won't be you won't be able to make it out until we go back and look at the video. Now, of course, that leaves us open to interpretation and hearing stuff that isn't there. Stop interrupting me. I'll turn it off. And so it does leave you open to hearing stuff that's not there. But again, as I'm saying, this is just, it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of thing. See what happens. What more do you want? You're out in the graveyard trying to speak to the dead. So I mean, it's as serious as we can get here. So that's that. My name is Tommy Kelly, and I have been out here a number of times before, and I've tried to contact different people here at different times. And I'm interested to know if anyone would like to talk to me. Sounded like hello, Tommy, so I'm going to take that as there is someone here. Seem to be very active today. Is there many people around? Is there many of you here? Is there many spirits here? Plenty. I, of course, would only like to speak to the friendliest of spirits, because I don't really want anything coming home with me. So could all the bad spirits please go to the back of the room, please? Has anyone here got a message or something they would like to tell me? Can any of you say my name? Can you say my full name? Can you say Tommy Kelly? Can you tell me what your name is? What is your name? Is this a safe thing to be doing, to try and communicate with you in a graveyard? Is there some form of protection I should be doing? Do you choose to live here? Or are you trapped here? Is there a message any of you have for any of my viewers or listeners? I heard need help there, so how can we help you? I'll just stop you for a second. Okay. So a number of things happening there. One thing is that I'm recognizing kind of audio files or audio lips that I've heard the last time I used this. So I'd say that's just the nature of using, you know, sound banks, and you're going to hear the thing. There's definitely one there where it sounded like Bert that I go, oh, that's kind of something I've heard before, but maybe not when I go back and listen to it. There's no kind of feeling around me at all that there was the last time when I was doing this in my office, where it kind of felt a bit creepy, or there was a sensation of someone standing looking at me behind me or something like that. I don't have that here, which I did get the last time I was here though. So it's the hard thing I find about this is because you're really only hearing the stuff what the spirits are saying after you look through the videos. It's hard to get a conversation going in a sense, because you're saying stuff, they may be answering you and you're not understanding it or making it out properly, and you know, you can't really continue on the conversation. So we'll try it for another while, and then we'll change the app and we'll try a different app. Do you understand what I'm trying to do here? Okay. For those who don't, basically it's recordings of sounds that you can use to communicate with me. Does that make sense? Can you tell me a little bit about who you are? What was your job when you were alive? What year were you alive? Is there something you can do to let me know you're here other than talk through this box, through this audio thing? Is there something you could move, or something that I could sense? White feather just flew down there. Is there anything else? Was that you? Is there anything you could tell me that would give me some sort of proof that I am talking to a spirit? Is there a secret you can tell me? Do I have a guardian spirit? Silence. Do I have spirits around me? What is the name of the spirits around me? Okay. I'm going to finish there, and thank you for talking. I'm going to change to a different app, and maybe you might find that more helpful. But thank you for talking to me so far. I really appreciate it. So, just going to change the app. This one's obviously a lot noisier, and works on the principle of going quickly through radio stations, I think, or AM signals or FM signals. So we'll give it a go. It might be too annoying though. Is there someone here who would like to talk to me using this app? Is this app harder to use than the other app I was using? To be honest, I find that really annoying, and I don't think it's going to be something that I would use. I prefer the other app, but that's probably enough. We're doing about 10 minutes here, so that's probably enough. I'll go back over, I'll look at it, I'll go through the different voices, different things we heard there, and if there's anything that come up that I think sounds like something, I'll subtitle it, which of course doesn't work so well for people on the podcast, but it's probably in one sense good for people on the podcast because they're not getting led by what I think it means. So maybe even it could be worth your while listening to this on the podcast first without the visual clues or cues, and then going back and watching it and see what I come up with it. But it's up to you. Maybe you don't have that much time to be watching and listening to Tommy in a graveyard. Anyway, yeah. So it's next day and I'm just completely finished editing that whole section of the show, and I've gone through the whole thing, listened to it with headphones and tried to work out what people were saying and what the spirits were saying and all that. And just a few notes on that. When I'm looking at other YouTube channels or TV shows that do that, I'm very aware of how much I'm being led by what they're putting on the screen, you know, particularly with EVPs. And I know some shows try not to lead, and you know, they'll play it first and see, you know, what do you hear, and then they'll tell you what, you know, you're meant to hear. And I don't really want to do that, and I didn't do it this time, and I didn't do it last time, but what I tried to do differently this time was that unless it really sounded like it to me, the whole word, that I didn't put a subtitle in. Like, you could kind of make it those bits and pieces where I definitely could have forced or cued you into believing that the spirits or the audio had said something that it only vaguely had said, say, or sounded like it said. So anything that's subtitled there, I honestly think that's what it sounds like, and I'm not trying to lead you or that kind of thing. So there is a part of me that's still very aware of the whole cueing and leading thing, particularly when you have, when you've been hanging around, as I have, with my son, my baby son. He's very small, he's about 8 months, and he's babbling and that kind of things. And you can definitely hear words and phrases and things in what he's saying. And of course, he's not saying that. And so it's interesting kind of correlation between the two things, where I'm seeing, you know, trying to do this spirit box stuff, and then having like a babbling kind of baby that you can both kind of get that pareidolia thing where you're looking for things in it, in patterns and stuff, and you can hear it. And certainly at times it appears that my son is talking to me and all of those things, and anyone who is a parent will know what I'm on about. But it's not, it's just, you know, you're hearing patterns and things. So I'm very aware of all these things. So while I'm doing it and enjoying it, and I think it's good investigation, it's good adventure and woo-woo, it's a good thing to do for the channel, and to, you know, to see if anything comes out of it. And I do think some kind of stuff has come out of it, whether that's me engaging with my subconscious, or some part of me hearing, you know, echoing back thoughts from myself that I hear in the audio, or whether it's actual spirit communication, who knows. Just, I would advise you not to take it too seriously, or not to feel that I'm presenting it as, you know, spirit contact or anything like that. It's just an adventure and woo, an investigation into these things, and see what happens. And I will do more of them. I'm getting a new app, because that second app was terrible. It's Spiritus is one of the apps I'm looking at, and has some sort of visual thing going on with as well. But there's another one, Echovox or Spiritvox, I think. So a couple of different ones that seem to be highly recommended. So we might just go with a new app for the next time. So anyway, there are kind of the notes. Tried my best not to cue you. Tried my best not to fool you into thinking I was saying something, and if there is a subtitle, it means I genuinely feel that's what it kind of sounds like to me, with the caveat that we're seeing patterns and hearing patterns and stuff that possibly and more than likely aren't actually there. So yeah. Sorry for the constant interruptions in this segment, but another thing I wanted to just say that I forgot to say in the wrap-up. And that is that when I was going through the different voices and the different noises and stuff like that, and trying to discern what was being said or make some sense out of it, I noticed that there seemed to be an accent coming through that I didn't notice the first time I did it, and it was a Northern Irish accent. And a couple of the words, a couple of the way things were said definitely sounded Northern Irish in accent-y to me. And this kind of got me thinking that where I live is kind of close to the border, and if I went to the south of Ireland, my accent would be considered a kind of a northern accent. So it is kind of local to this area that people would have a kind of a northern accent. But this was a very more north than here, I suppose, accent. But still would be in, you know, in kind of fitting with the locale. And it's interesting to think that when, you know, when people go to around the world or different countries and stuff like that, that the EVP seems to be always in English or, you know, not with an accent and stuff like that. So I thought it was interesting and worth noting that there did seem to be an accent coming through on the Spirit Box, because I assumed that the guy who put the Spirit Box together and made the sounds and all that wasn't using Northern Irish accents. So again, just thought something worth note. Bye again. This is the end of this segment proper. Hopefully this time, unless Tommy interrupts again, which if he doesn't, then we're on to the next section. So I kind of did an oopsie, as PewDiePie would say. And what I did was that I didn't read out an answer that I got for the last remote viewing game. And it was a very accurate one, and it's kind of my fault that it didn't get the accolades it deserved. And it's from Lisa Pouncer, and what she said was, I'm seeing a pillar or a tower, pale in colour, possibly religious or a memorial. And she was the only one who actually got that it was a memorial, or, you know, that has that religious type thing. The rest of them, even the people who hit really well, it was more, you know, the kind of scenery and stuff like that. So that was really good. The reason why I missed it out is because it was on the YouTube page, and when I was putting together the kind of text document with all the answers, I just completely forgot to copy paste from the YouTube page. Sadly, as it was a great hit and it was a really good response and should really have been in that segment. Anyway, my apologies to Lisa, and good for you and well done for you, and I hope this slightly late amendment to the RV game results in some way makes up for the fact that I left you out of the main segment. Anyway, on with the show. So now on to the question and answer segment of the show, where I asked patrons, CMG, the 47th Facebook group, and anyone that would have me, if they had any questions they wanted me to answer, or any kind of themes or topic suggestions or any of that kind of thing. So here's what people come up with. Usual apology up front that I'm going to butcher your name, and that's just unavoidable at this point, and we just have to go on with it. So, Jean Oliviera Quavado. It's best decent attempt I can on your name. How to face objectives and subjective reality in Magic. Why these are important or not. Excuse me. Well, the first thing is that you have to decide on whether you believe there is an objective reality out there, or whether it all is subjective. And if there is an objective reality out there, have we access to it? Like, is there, in a sense, is there any point in worrying about the objective reality if it's something that we never really interact with, because we're always one step behind it, in that if we are a brain, say, we are seeing only what our eyes can see. It's the information is giving us what feel we have, you know, from our sensations, our hearing, all of these things. And they're all kind of dodgy or inappropriate, not inappropriate, incomplete kind of sensors. Like, see, even looking at your how the eye works, in that it's your eye actually turns everything upside down. It's the light reflecting off things, and you see every other color than the actual color your brain thinks it is. So if you see green, your eyes are actually in every single color other than green. And so it kind of, you have to wonder then, how important is kind of objective reality in many ways, particularly from a Magic outlook, if you can't interact with it. And if you can't interact with it, and we can't really disprove solipsism, it is unfalsifiable also, then what do you do? Now, that also said, the opposite side of that would be that if you just totally go with subjective and your own kind of feel of things, then, you know, there's dangers in that too as well. Like, in that, well, it's, you know, people go, it's just how I feel, and like, you go, well, so what, just how you feel? It doesn't make it right, you know. It just feels right to not use the safety latch on the ladder. You know what I mean? That just feels right to me. That's the thing to do. But it's not the thing to do. So for me, I think it's always, you know, striving for that balance. Apart from on the days where I'm not sure if there is an objective reality, or whether this is all Maya, all illusion, all that, which is the predominant of my days, I would say. Magic is very subjective. It really is. And it's something that I think when you try to explain to other people, kind of diminishes it. And in a sense, it's only for you. It's the, you know, the universe showing something just to you. And it's, you know, you should probably, which is probably, I think, why that whole, you know, be silent thing came into it. Because as soon as you start talking about it, whatever, the magic goes away. We've talked before about Aunt LaVey saying that you should all acknowledge the magic or it'll be taken away. And there's this thing in that, it says, well, I think about staying silent and not telling your stuff, particularly to people who don't believe it or are skeptical, that it can just diminish your magic. So subjectively, if it feels magic to you, then it is magic, and that's magic as far as I'm concerned. And then facing objectivity, take good notes, I suppose. Like always, don't trust your own mind so much, even though it's subjective. Like I have memories of things that never happened. I have, and it's not, I don't subscribe to the whole Mandela effect for the most part. Every now and again, like CP3O's silver leg is a very weird thing to me. Yeah, take good notes in your magic. Do all that. Make sure that you are as objective as you can be, knowing that ultimately, you're probably subjective anyway. It's that old Scooby-Doo meme of where they have the mask, the objectivity, and you go, objectivity, let's see who you really are, and pull up the mask, and it's subjectivity. So that's what I would say. I don't think we got to the bottom of that there at all. Are astral travelings and astral operations just an enhanced use of imagination? This is from the same questioner. I have my own answer to these, but they are questions that haunted me for a long time. They might be haunting some people right now, and I'd appreciate your viewing them. My answer is yes, it is. Absolutely. But we have this kind of thing of, so it's only the imagination, and it's kind of as if we use it dismissively, whereas I use it the complete opposite. I think it's, it's imagination which should be elevated more than, than a dismissive type thing. So I do think astral travels and astral operations are indeed imaginal, or part of the imagination. But that's in no way diminishing it. I think we just don't have a correct view on what the imagination is. And likely that it's as real, whatever definition of real you have, as whatever this is, in my opinion. Terry Eldridge, any deities, entities, not your own, you have overwhelming success with or recommend most people to try working with? I seem to remember working with Saint Expedite quite a bit when I first joined. Well, that's a mismemory because I've never worked with Saint Expedite in my life. Who I think you might be confusing it is with Saint Cyprian, who I did do an awful lot of work with and went on the pilgrimage to see his relics and all that kind of stuff. And then ultimately never really felt that I had any proper communication or that I got in any sort of relationship with him. I don't think I'm any closer to having any sort of working relationship with Saint Cyprian than I had 2 years ago before I started, and I did a lot of work with him. So maybe it's just not for me, or maybe I'm approaching it all wrong, or maybe I was expecting too much. But as an archetypical character, I think he's very interesting. And he's very similar to the whole Gandalf kind of idea in a sense, or any of these kind of wizardy type things, but he has the kind of Christian background, the Satanism in a sense, the black magic, all of that type of thing. So I definitely would have worked with him. Say, not really much success, although I don't know exactly what I was looking for. There's that. I've never ever asked him for anything, although I did use him as a sort of conduit for sigil stuff that kind of worked as well. So any deities, entities you have overwhelming success with. The most success I have with any of them is Ganesha or Ganesh, whatever we want to pronounce it. And I think everyone should try hanging out with Ganesh for a while. He loves magicians and magicians love him. And he's a very friendly god. He's a very friendly entity and thing. There's no kind of bad to him, or there's no kind of backfiring to it. The only kind of thing is because he's the remover of obstacles. That's his, that's his job, or that's his function. But the reason why he is so good at removing obstacles is that he is the guy who put them there in the first place. So there's that. So there's a bit of a trickster thing involved in it too. But he's so gentle-mannered, so funny, and so light-hearted and all that, that I would suggest you hang out with Ganesha for a while. Just do some mantras, do some chanting, that kind of thing. But yeah, good guy. Even Gordon White on his website, on Rune Soup, talks about, even from a strictly chaos magic point of view, where they're all imaginal and they're all in our heads and all of those things, which he seems to have drifted away from recently. He thinks even then that Ganesha seems to have some sort of sentience or some sort of outside human imagination properties. Here's her name now. Seouvn. Swovan Rodriguez. How can my husband manifest the promotion he's been awaiting? Currently, he is #1 on the promotion list. It's been close to 3 years since he was originally number 17 on the promotion list. Thank you. Well, my first thing would be say is to keep doing whatever he's doing. If he went from 17 to #1, then he's obviously doing it right. And it would just suggest that you just need to wait a wee bit longer. But there's obviously good stuff you can do to improve your luck or to improve your chance to road. Well, the road opener is probably not good in this thing because that's more you're looking for new opportunities. The Fortunate would be a great one to work with. Or even the Guru for the practical type of things of how to get the final kind of, hooked into the job or whatever. The Witch, of course, the Factotum. She can do anything, so hang out with the Witch as well. I see what they can do, but keep doing what you are doing, or tell him to keep doing what he's doing because it's working. Keaton Sinclair. Now, Keaton, I applaud you for telling me how you pronounce your name, and I think this should be, taken up by other people, and it should also be every time someone asks a question, this should also include the phonetics of their name. What adjustments do you make to your daily occult practice when you're away from home or traveling? I, as seldom as possible, travel or go away from home, particularly these days. I used to enjoy traveling. I find it immensely stressful now. And there's a podcast where I talk about my last trip to London where I had a kind of a mini nervous breakdown in the airport just because of the stress of the whole thing. I know there was other factors and things going on than just traveling at the time. Lots of stuff going on, but I don't really do anything different because there's not really, I don't really do a kind of a routine thing anymore the way I used to, where I'd have daily prayers or daily mantras or the whole thing. I used to have really long extended kind of daily ritual thing that I did for months, and then I kind of ended up writing that blog post, which is, are you getting a return on investment on your magic? Because I didn't feel it was going anywhere or doing anything, and I was just kind of doing it out of, in a sense of guilt, in kind of that Protestant work ethic that's kind of promoted in magic circles an awful lot, where it's, if you're not getting effects or the results you want, do more and more and more. So I was just doing this more and more, but it's like a Catholic just saying more prayers every day or something. It's just, if your prayers aren't working, I don't think doing more of them is necessarily going to suddenly improve your situation. That whole thing of, the definition of madness is doing the same thing and expecting a different result, which works in most part, apart from, learning a musical instrument, which is, of course, you do the same thing over and over and you eventually do get a different result. So it's not a perfect analogy or whatever. So I kind of drop away from all that kind of daily routine type stuff and work on kind of long-term magic or kind of changes in my mind or whatever, my outlook. And I do an awful lot of modeling in, I suppose it would be in NLP, but invocation, excuse me, where I take on God forms or idea forms or create particular auras or atmospheres around me to work towards doing stuff or becoming the person I want to be and all of these type things. So my big kind of metamorphosis or change is about becoming a better person on the way to that whole thing of becoming, the master or the ascended master, or for want of better words, like that whole thing that's embodied by the master in the 47, the perfected you. And I'm trying to perfect myself, not in an egotistical way, in a kind of, not in, like I say, a bodybuilding way where you're trying to perfect your physique or whatever, which is fine. I'm not putting that down, it's just an example, but it's not that. It's trying to become whatever it is that I am to become and trying to perfect that. Working on the assumption and the presupposition that there is something that you're meant to be working towards, rather than just, you're here for randomness or you're here for no reason or meaningless or whatever. So there is an inherent, as I say, presupposition that there is an end goal. And that's what I'm trying to work on. So I do that all the time. So when I leave or when I travel or when I do anything, there's nothing that changes because it's kind of a constant auric expression from me, and it's like very much an energetic model type thing, which I would say I'm probably not as embedded in as I was, but there is a kind of it can be described in an energetic model sense, but it can also be described in an NLP modeling sense, or an invocation sense or whatever. So that's always ongoing. So most of my magic is ongoing rather than daily ritualistics. Like there's no daily banishing. There's no, at the minute I'm not even meditating because it's driving me insane. I'm going through a dark meditation period. If you followed the blog back in the day, I used to have a very up and down relationship with meditation, going from very highs to very lows to the depths of Zazen mentalness. But yeah, so nothing really changes because of my approach to magic is probably mostly mental or energetic or NLP, invocation, that type of stuff. So I hope that helps. Now, the next couple of questions, which are all quite similar, and I have answered this question on a previous question and answer, but I will answer it again because if so many people are asking, then it's obviously something that people are interested in. So I'll run through the questions and then give my answer. Derek Cook, do you ever feel unmotivated to make art? And if you do, how do you deal with it? For me personally, I have 1,000 ideas, but it's hard work these days to get pen to page. Adam Denman says, how do you deal with magical burnout and a general lack of motivation? Firemead, how do you get over a period of not feeling the magic? Do you do the offerings anyway and hope, or does that feel like going through the motions? Are there any surefire ways of getting your woo back that work every time? Just say like walking in a forest or sitting around a fire. And Aidan Green, no, I have this mixed up, so it's just those three. You get the Aidan's thing, so it's just basically about burnout, whether that be magic or be that kind of art. And the thing to do, I think, is, well, you have two options. If it's your profession, if you're an artist and that's your job, you just have to bull through it and you just have to do it. And I have done that, where you just have to keep going until you get whatever it is done. And I've had many days where I woke up not feeling it and had to do it because it's that's the job that's on. And it takes you a while, and you have to get in. You do get into it. You do get through it. Now, are you ever doing your finest work? Possibly not. But I have done good work in that mood. And some days I've woken up and I literally can't draw. Like my pen just won't do what it's meant to do. My hands won't do. It's tough. And the other option, if it's not your profession and you have the kind of ability to do it, is to walk away and do something else. And completely, like if you're burnt out in magic, stop doing magic, stop reading magic books, stop listening to magic podcasts, stop doing all of it and go watch something completely different than Netflix, like some, documentary about gardening or something that's completely averse to what you've been surrounded by, because you're burnt out because you've saturated yourself in all these things, or you can be burnt out because you're doing all these things and they're not working, and you need to step away to come back, to consolidate what you've learned and then kind of look at it again and see what fresh approach you can take. Magic forcing it, and that, as I said before, about that whole Protestant work ethic that's kind of prevalent in some magic circles, that just keep doing more of it. It never worked for me, so that it may work for you. It works for some people. Art-wise and stuff like that, what you can do is go, rather than trying to create, go and learn stuff. So if I get feeling in that kind of mode, I'll go and start doing like more life drawing, or learning new programs, or learning to improve on the programs I have been doing, to do loads of tutorials, and that can kind of get your vibe back into the whole thing as well. Upping your game so that by the next time when you get back into the mood, you're in a much better position to create than you were the last time. And so using that kind of downtime of not being able to do anything, or not being in the right space, to learn and to improve and to increase your technique and all that. And I suppose you could approach magic to that in the same way. And particularly in meditation, which I don't do, and I'm do as I say, not as I do. And to say that whole period that I'm going through now of hating meditation and feeling nothing from it and all that, you should just keep doing your meditation. I didn't, but that is the recommended advice to do in that case. So yeah, there's no surefire way out of any of it other than take a break if you can, bull through if you can't, and up your game, to switch gears into, rather than trying to create, learn so that your technique improves, so that you're better. So if you're sculpting, rather than trying to create a new sculpture, go learn some fundamentals. If you're a drummer, rather than writing new songs, go back to your paradiddles. If you're a guitar player, whatever, go to your scales, piano, all those things, like learn the technique or maybe some theory behind it. Read something completely different. If you can take a break, if you're oversaturating yourself in magic or art or whatever it is, try and take a break. At least, you know, even if it's work for like 20 minutes or something, and go do something else. But it goes away, and it's part of it. There's no kind of time, or there's no, you know, it's never not going to be there. At some point, we're all going to feel that no matter what. Even if it's watching like your favorite TV program, there's sometimes you're just not into it. Or your favorite food. It's just, that's how it is, you know? So don't worry about it is my kind of advice. Big time, it's going to happen, particularly if you're an artist, that you're just going to have days, and you'll get over it. And you'll be all better for it. So Aidan Green says, creating your own pantheon, how do you go about it? Worrying about offending a god. For example, I substitute Apollo for Vulcan in my Roman pentagram rite. That's my early attempt at creating a banishing ritual that was non-Christian in origin, or Judeo-Christian. Do I need to be worried about Vulcan? I would say absolutely not. For me, the gods are ideas. They are not actual beings who are angry at you in the way that we've been told in Christianity that Jehovah or Yahweh is an angry, jealous God who was coming for you if you don't, you know, tell him how awesome he is constantly. Do what you want, with the caveat of does it work? If it works, do more of it. If it doesn't, augment it, change it, or do something else. So, can you substitute Apollo for Vulcan in your room? Yes, if it works for you. If it doesn't, then no, you can't. And it's not if it works in general for people, if it works for you, if that's getting you the result you want. Is it banishing in the way you want it to banish? Is Apollo more powerful? It's that thing like, some people find Apollo powerful, some people prefer Superman, some people prefer the sun itself, or some people prefer Jesus. And that's it, that's what it should be. And I remember there was a time when I would even come back to talking about Ganesha where I wouldn't put him on an altar with, say, you know, like Baphomet or even St. Cyprian or whatever, because it felt like kind of insulting to them, whatever, and there was this kind of a feeling. So I do understand the feeling or whatever, but that's all in my head, I think. I mean, if they're gods, I don't find that they're actual gods. Are they really going to be annoyed because you have them on the same altar as something else? Maybe I'm totally wrong that maybe they're massively offended by the whole thing. I know you shouldn't put like ancestral photos if you have an ancestral altar beside like Baphomet if they were serious Christians or whatever. That's kind of the advice. But again, try all these things. Don't just take any of this on anyone's word. You know, put your photo of your grandmother who was a serious Christian beside Lucifer and see what happens. See if it changes. And it's like the Alan Moore thing, because I'm going to worship a fake god, a made-up god, a snake god, and see if it changes anything. See if it messes anything up, if it makes it worse, makes it better. And he says it makes it better, and he knows it's fake. So try these things out. I'm sorry, my nose is a bit itchy there. Try these things all out for yourself and see what happens. And do more of the things that work and less of the things that don't work. But don't discard the things that don't work. Either change them, have a look at them, see why they didn't work. Check out your feelings around them and what you could be bringing to the table. If you think, and I would suggest, that you're worried about offending a god, I guarantee you that you're going to come up against the feeling of offending, and you're going to manifest that, and you're going to prove that to be true. In the same way that if you feel the need for banishing ritual or to protect yourself in some way, you're coming from the point of feeling weak. And so you do need protection in that sense, only because you think you do. So I'm not worried about offending gods because I feel God's up me. So it's hard to offend yourself. Jacqueline Bradley. Do you work with demons or very ancient deities, I prefer to call them? I don't, but not out of any kind of feeling that you shouldn't, or any kind of tut-tutting or looking down or feeling scared or any of those things. I'll tell you exactly my whole kind of deal with all of these things and working with things. When I was a musician, I was always interested in writing my own songs and doing my own, you know, being in my own band or doing my own albums and all that, rather than doing cover versions of songs and being in a cover band. That was always my approach. I was much more interested in creating than reproducing. And to me, gods and spirits and all of these things, is how I approach them now, subject to change, and I reserve the right to change my mind at any time in the future. But right now, I see them as aspects of mind, of consciousness. Not just my mind, like a greater consciousness, like a field of consciousness. And they're all in there. Now, you can have all them, and they're, as far as I'm concerned, are like the cover bands or the other people's ideas. I prefer my own ideas because they're more personal to me, the more reflect who I am, the more malleable to my will, the more kind of I can make them and shape them to do what I want. I am under no obligation to them. I can't offend them. I can't do any of the things. They're my ideas, they're my songs. So do I work with demons? No, because that's an equivalent in magic to me of being in a cover band or doing a cover song. It's rather than creating your own album, which say the 47s, you are doing the wedding band, which is the Goetia. That's my kind of feel on it, that it's much more effective for me to have my own ideas, use my own ideas, make my own magic than to use, so it's like bespoke magic rather than off-the-shelf magic that someone else has all their rules, all their stuff in. So 47s, that's my album. Goetia, that's the cover band. And that's kind of the best kind of way I can describe it. And so yeah, not opposed to it at all. It's just not what I do. In the same way that when I was doing comics, I never wanted to draw someone else's stories because it was all about getting my stuff out, whatever, like me being the channel, me being the conduit, see what I can do out of me, what can come out of me, rather than going to another kind of source and read. I never wanted to draw Batman. I never wanted to do that because I want to see what I can do, what I can come out of, what comes out of this thing, rather than taking someone else's idea and working with it. And loads of people take Batman and write brilliant stuff with it and change the world and all that kind of stuff, and that's brilliant. But it's not what I'm interested in, and that's not what I want to do. There's something else I want to say around that, but I can't remember. I'll come back to it if I do remember. So this is an anonymous question. Hi, can I ask an anonymous question? And it is, is the Necronomicon magic considered to be safe and effective compared to demonic magic, or less so? I was wondering, since it's been discussed, we were discussing maybe doing it as the next part of the study group. The Necronomicon is considered, depending on who you talk to be useless magic. It's considered to be totally made up. It's considered to be not anywhere as successful or good as the established demonic magic that we've had forever. Other people think, oh, that's hogwash, and find that the Necronomicon is as powerful as any of them. And at some stage, the demons were made up, whether that be by human, by God, by someone, but it's all made up at some point, and certainly the Grimoires are made up. Someone came up with them, even if it was just putting together other ideas. So for me, Necronomicon is as useful as any of them. Again, with that caveat of I prefer my own ideas. And the thing I wanted to say about Bradley's thing about Gunting, I have used other people's ideas in the thing of, say, Ganesha, Baphomet, and then going back to the Saint Cyprian thing, where I was saying that I tried for ages to, in some way, have this communication or this relationship or whatever. And possibly the thing that stopped me is that he's someone else's song. And I have to find my own song in relation, or my own way of looking at it. And the Saint from the 47s probably is my own song of it. It's kind of my riff on that idea. The Necronomicon, is it safe? No magic is safe. That's it. So it's probably safer than working with demons and that kind of thing, because of the headspace you can get into working with demons. Hang out with Lucifer or hang out with Marduk. They're both very powerful kind of ideas. But which feels safer to you? And then, safe's not always good though either, Fancy furry fuzzy pants. I like the name. I like how you keep changing your name as well to see which one I will read out. I sometimes wonder how much pareidolia is beneficial and possibly a required part of cults. For instance, with certain divination tools like tea leaves, it seems like it's beneficial and more a matter of keeping a rein on it in order to find a balance that works. What are your thoughts on this? Totally agree. I am pro all of these things. I think rather than kind of shunning these things away or putting them away, it's used them to our advantage. If we are beings that sees patterns and things, that's obviously what we want to do, and that's how we work, and that's how we function. And rather than trying to get away from that, let's engage with that and see what happens. Like where it can bring us. Like I say that thing about tea leaves and all that. I think so. Like that, we're pattern making machines. Now you can go too far, and I say we need a balance and all those things, but I definitely think that you shouldn't dismiss things just because you now have a name for it, or you know what it is. Like now, because we know that we have a name called pareidolia, which means that we tend to see patterns in abstract shapes. Throw that away, that's solved, that's it done, put that away. No, rather than go, oh, that's cool. No, it's not less magical because we know it. It's like that R.C. Clarke thing of any futuristic or advanced technology appears magical to people until they know what it is. Until it's given a name, and then it's kind of harnessed and pigeonholed, and the power is taken away from it, or the magic's taken away from it. So yeah, I would say definitely engage with these type of things. I think all the divination and the tea leaves and the pareidolia and all that, and particularly what, say, the spirit box stuff I was doing, is that it is a reflection of you, and you will hear things in it that maybe other people won't hear. But they're all like a starting point. Like if I'm doing a reading for someone and a card comes up, it's to trigger something. It's to start my kind of mind going, or my intuition going, or whatever, seeing things from a different angle than I normally wouldn't, or approaching a question from a completely different point of view than I would have had I not, if the father card hadn't come up. Go, oh, I never thought of coming at it from that way. And it's kind of the initial kind of trigger for you then to, or for my brain to go into the thing. So it's kind of that. So you can have, that with pareidolia. Like look at clouds and see the shapes. You go, oh, there's a finger of God pointing, and and it could be magical for you. And we go, oh well, it's not really the finger of God, but none of this might be real either. So I completely agree with you. I think it is beneficial once you know what it is, and once you're aware of these things. It's like knowing the rules so you can break them. And yeah, one last question, and then that's us, and it's Louisa. Do you use astrology in your magic? I do not. Again, it works for some people, it works amazing for some people, and some people are really good at it. I'm not into it. I find it, there's parts of me that finds it's ludicrous. And I know that's kind of not fair, and I know that's probably not right. But that Mercury retrograde stuff is something that I wouldn't believe in, even if it was absolutely 100% true. I just choose not to believe it, because it's just all too easy to fall prey to causing that stuff. It's, oh, Mercury retrograde today at 2 o'clock, everything's going to go wrong, and then everything will go wrong. And I find all that kind of predictive stuff is really bad for me because I take it too seriously. So one point I do think it's ludicrous, another point I take it really far too seriously, in that it can ruin my life. That if I was doing a project and I got an astrology reading or a tarot reading, not necessarily tarot reading, but if I got to say something and I said, oh, that's not going to happen, then that devastate me, and I'd probably stop working on it, and I would take it all too seriously. And at least with tarot readings or the 47 readings, it's a point in time that can be changed. Will immediately be changed because you have the knowledge now of what you have of the reading. So it's obviously going to change your outlook and your actions and stuff like that. But with astrology, it seems a wee bit more fixed, and that it's predestined and all that. So I don't know. I find it ludicrous. I don't like the idea of predestiny. I do like the idea of predestiny in other ways, like fate and that kind of things. I don't really find it useful. I find it too limiting in that, like, when you have to do everything by the exact astrological hour and day, and you don't do stuff on a Saturday because that's Saturn, or do stuff on a Thursday if you have to do it Monday because that's Jupiter, or communication on Wednesday. And I can go, but it's Monday and I need to do this, so what, can I not? And go, oh well, you can use the hour. Yeah, but it's Monday now, 2 o'clock. The right hour is until 4 o'clock on a Wednesday. And I find it too limiting and too thing. And when I have done it, and I did an awful lot of the daily prayers, the astrological prayers, and I tried to engage with the whole astrology thing. I did the Benabel course in astrology, and it added nothing to my magic. It didn't make it any more effective. It made it more hassle. It made it take longer to do, more preparation, all that, for exactly the same outcome. So it may be something down the line I'll look more into, or maybe I just haven't come across it in the correct kind of form or aesthetics that I enjoy or whatever. Maybe I just haven't got past the whole kind of sun sign astrology stuff that, you know, everyone laughs at and stuff. That whole thing though is that millionaires don't believe in astrology but billionaires do. There's probably a lot to that, you know, there's probably something to it. And definitely if you think there is something to it, then there is something to it and you should engage with it. So that's all the questions for this month. I hope some of them were, some of those answers were what you wanted, or it shed some light. If nothing more, it just lets you know what I think about all these things. But as always, other opinions are available, and go with your own kind of feelings on these things and don't take anyone's word for anything. Test them, see what works, see what doesn't. The more of the things that work and less of the things that don't. Don't throw the things away, just augment them until you find, you know, the parts that do work. So yeah.
So there we go, that's another episode of Adventures in Woo Woo, and I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you for sticking around if you got here to the end. Most people probably don't. They probably just skip through the different relevant subjects or segments to them. So good for you, and thank you very much, I appreciate it. If you want to know more about Adventures in Woo Woo, you can simply go to adventuresinwoowoo.com, which will bring you to the website that used to be the blog, but is now kind of just a place where I put stuff. So it needs a bit of love and attention and a bit of care, and I will get around to it at some point. Just it's slightly down on my to-do list, and I have other more pressing matters, but I will get there. And I have stuff going on in the background that just needs to be switched on, and blah blah blah. You don't care about all that stuff. If you go there, you will find all the links to all the social media, to the YouTube, to the old podcasts, to all the blogs that were written by other people. Some really great stuff over there. To Magic Primer, if you're new to Magic, there's a whole section on how to get into it, and full of links and videos and all the things you could possibly want. There's also a page where you can help me out, and it's a support page. You can find my Amazon wish list there. You can find my PayPal address if you just want to send me money, or you can sign up to Patreon and help me out that way. All of those things and all that information is over at adventuresinwoowoo.com. So, good people of the internet, may you have a wonderful week, and I really mean that. I've had a kind of a tough week. Well, I've had a kind of weird week where I have some really class highs and some immediate kind of desperate lows. But I hope your week is more balanced or closer to the highs than the lows. So have a great week, and I will talk to you all next week.